Your fitness and training goals are achievable, but they require you to adopt the mindset that you need to work in a disciplined manner. It also requires some hard training, which means you're probably not going to feel great all of the time. Change requires discomfort. If you are training hard over an extended period of time, the likelihood of you getting injured or developing some niggles increases. It's just the nature of things. Of course, we want to mitigate this through sensible programming, not overreaching too much, and being proactive about recovery so you don't get injured. But shit does happen, so it's probably best to know how to navigate injuries and heal as fast as possible. Generally, if you are training smartly and hard, you will need to dig into threshold zones, and this will involve breaking down muscle and ligament tissue each session and asking the body to increase on its strengths capabilities. So what can we do if we develop an injury? This is my advice learned through rehabbing multiple knee, ankle and lower back injuries. Firstly, we need to categorize the injury. Is it an actual injury, or is it a niggle, or just some sort of muscular strain, which is often the case. A serious injury would be something along the lines of ligament, tendon damage, or you have fractured a bone or have developed some sort of stress fracture. Niggles are more a case of training fatigue that you could be struggling to recover from, or you had a high stress session where you overreached past the capacity of your muscle tissue or ligament tissue or your nervous system. In both these cases, this protocol can be applied. The very first thing you need to do is see a professional physiotherapist or osteo or consultant to get a diagnosis. This would only really apply to serious injuries though, or niggles that don't seem to be healing by themselves for a long period of time. You need to first find out if the injury is structural or mechanical. An example of structural damage would be ligament tear, and mechanical issue would be something like a muscle isn't firing properly or functioning properly, or some sort of compensation or imbalance is happening and causing some sort of discomfort or even worse, pain. Most injuries or niggles come from overuse, so keeping this in mind is essential. Mechanical issues are usually easier and quicker to fix than structural damage, and realistically just require some rehab work or you globally addressing what's going on at the joint or muscle group. Structural damage will be the main focus of this video. However, this strategy will apply to general recovery and healing of low-level niggles and injuries. Okay, once we have a diagnosis or an idea of what the issue is and what the immediate action we want to take is, addressing trauma to the area is the main thing we want to focus on. There will be no doubt some aggravation, pain and inflammation, so this must be addressed first. This would best involve heat and cold exposure to alleviate inflammation and settle down the tissue that may be tightening up as part of its normal protective mechanism. I would also use some ibuprofen or any other anti-inflammatory prescribed drug or painkiller. If the injury is a high degree tear, etc., then limited movement at the joint for a period of time I would advise, but it's best you keep the body moving and train as much as possible within reason to promote recovery and blood flow, which will bring nutrients to the area and help clear inflammation. The game changer for me has been sauna and ice baths, because the heat and cold gets deep into tissue, alleviates the inflammation, improves blood flow, but also makes the tissue more malleable and relaxed. Secondly, with structural damage or even niggles, the body will need building blocks to repair and grow new tissue. This is called proliferation and generally takes weeks or months. So next you would want to address nutrient and protein intake. Give your body more than enough building blocks, increase calorie intake and protein intake. You will significantly slow down the proliferation process if you are fasting, not eating plenty amount of proteins, or in an obscene calorie deficit. Ask yourself, where is your body getting the building blocks to repair the tissue if you are under eating or not eating surplus amounts of proteins? We can also add in supplements like collagen, bone broth and omegas that feed the body the necessary building blocks that it needs. Thirdly is sleep, which to be honest should have been number one, but anyway, we're here. You must realize your body only heals and remodels tissue in deep sleep. So if you're not completing adequate cycles of deep sleep, then you are slowing down this proliferation process. Generally, in terms of recovery from training and making progress, your intentions should be to sleep as optimally as possible. 9 hours sleep is optimal, and less than 7 hours sleep, you start to expose your body and brain to long-term health risks. Once we have heat and cold exposure, optimal nutrient consumption, and optimal sleep in place, the next steps would be to begin rebuilding stability and strength in the area. Healing comes before rehab, don't ever forget that. With both structural and mechanical issues, it may involve not doing some aggravated movements, swapping to other variations that will allow you to create some sort of productive training stimulus. If you are unsure how to address the mechanical issue, then you would need to follow advice from your coach or your physio on basically what exercises will bring about efficient and correct function to the area. The area of rehab is fully individual, so I can't really say specifically what that would look like for you, but one thing is you must do the boring work to build back function and stability so you can continue to train pain-free in the medium or long term. The rehab exercises you may use will probably start with high volume and high frequency, and then over weeks and months you should aim to lower this frequency and volume to a maintenance level. It is fundamentally important that you maintain a good level of training stimulus so you encourage the body to keep up anabolic processes. Doing absolutely nothing is the worst thing you can do when you're injured, so don't start feeling sorry for yourself and start bumming out. You need the blood flowing, you need anabolic hormones elevated, and you need restorative hormones to be spiked regularly. This is where continuing to train in a positive manner and swapping to other variations that are still loadable is a very useful strategy. Okay, before I wrap this up, I just want to say this. When you can't train or when you're injured, it's fully easy to start feeling sorry for yourself. Take this from someone who has had numerous injuries, and 2 of those have stopped me from walking. You can't feel sorry for yourself. You gotta snap out of that shit. It's not a good mental state to be in. You've got to try and cultivate a positive mental state, which is good for your body to heal and be positive about moving forwards. You have to adopt a mentality of how quickly can I get back from this injury? What must I do consistently to speed up the healing process? Shift your focus to what I can do instead of what I can't do. There's always something you can do, and there's always something you can do to work around injuries.